If you know these 5 words, your Russian level is beginner, A1. Привет. Привет. Спасибо. Спасибо. Да. Нет. Извините. Извините. And пожалуйста. Пожалуйста. Text me in the comments how many words did you know.
Welcome to The Wall. In today's video, we'll be looking at a divorce story where a woman tells us why she divorced her husband. She later justifies it by saying she deserved to be happy and that she didn't want to spend her whole life with that fool. If you enjoy this content, leave a like and subscribe. We're on our way to 150,000 subscribers, and with your support, we're going to crush that goal. Share your experiences or opinions about these kinds of cases in the comments. And without further ado, let's get started.
I can remember when I told my ex-husband I wanted a divorce. It was December 2019, and he was completely shocked, completely caught off guard, like dumbfounded, devastated, everything else. But the month before that, November of 2019, I remember very clearly having yet another talk with him about how unhappy I was. But this particular conversation, he was in his man cave room playing video games, which was like his favorite activity. And I go walking in and I tell him, like, I really want to talk about our marriage. Like, I'm not happy. It feels like we're roommates at this point and I don't really have a partner, blah, blah, blah. This man was wearing his headphones because he was playing with a friend and they like talked to each other. He didn't even take his headphones off. He just pulled it off his right ear. This is almost 4 years ago now. I can still remember he pulled it off his right ear and he didn't pause the game or stop playing. He continued to play a video game while his wife was standing in front of him, telling him how unhappy she was in the marriage. And I remember when he said to me something about like marriage being forever and whatever. And I said to him, well, maybe some marriages aren't meant to last. And he got so mad at me for saying that. But he didn't stop playing video games to have the conversation with me. And if that doesn't perfectly sum up why I divorced this man, then I don't know what does. And I feel like this is a very common trend. I hear about this type of stuff a lot, where the wife had expressed her concerns for months or even years. And then when she finally says, all right, I've done everything I could do, I want a divorce. Then the husband's like, what do you mean? What's happening? I love you. Please don't leave me. Please don't take my kids from me. It's like, bitch, you should have put in effort. You had the opportunity. We give you so many opportunities to do the right thing. You chose not to. This is now the repercussions of your actions. Am I wrong?
Stop it. Get some help.
In marriage, a man always walks on an invisible tightrope. He has to be fine. He has to be strong. He has to be stable, because even the slightest stumble can cost him everything. Today's woman has placed her personal happiness above family commitment. It doesn't matter how much the man has built. It doesn't matter how many sacrifices he's made. If she feels her happiness isn't at its peak, she'll leave without looking back. That's why, when a man receives the news of divorce, it feels like his soul is being ripped out. Because we, as men, believe in forever, even through the storms. But today's woman, raised in the me-first culture, doesn't think the same way. When her bad moment comes, she'll seek comfort, validation, another life, but she won't stay to fight by your side. For many women now, marriage has become a subscription to personal happiness, cancelable at any time.
2 months before my ex-husband and I finally separated, we had a trip to Disney planned. And a few weeks before that trip, my ex-husband had gotten fired from his job and was yet again unemployed. I think the wives on here already know before I say it, but I planned that trip myself from top to bottom. It's not because I didn't want help. It's not because I didn't ask for help. It's because he would not give me help. I had narrowed down the Airbnbs to a handful of options, and I just wanted him to finalize the decision with me. Could not be bothered to find 5 minutes to sit down and look at houses with me. So I rented the house myself. I rented the minivan to drive there myself. I coordinated the trip from Pennsylvania to Florida for 4 adults, my parents went with, and 2 kids, myself. And if you've ever planned a trip to Disney, you know you don't just show up on a whim to Disney. You need to know which days you're going to which parks. And then within those parks, you need to know which restaurants you really want to go to, because you have to reserve them months in advance, especially if it's like the high demand restaurants. And then you want to do your fast passes for the big rides in advance. And then you have to coordinate your lunch reservations with your ride reservations to make sure you can get there in time. So there I am looking at maps of the parks, trying to coordinate. Can we get from that ride to that restaurant? Is that enough time? Like hours of planning, hours and hours of planning. And then packing everything for the kids for a week in Florida, plus obviously packing everything for myself. All this man had to do was show up. He just had to show up with a suitcase of clothing. I paid for everything. I coordinated everything. He just had to show up. And do you think he appreciated that? No. Shocker, right? The bitching and moaning this man did the entire trip. Nothing suited. Nothing suited. It was too hot. It was Florida. There was too much walking. There was too much waiting in line. What's the point of having reservations if you still have to wait when you get there? Why is our lunch reservation at 1:45? Who eats lunch at 1:45? Because that's what was available. Because that particular restaurant, I remember it. I don't remember what it's called, but it's the one in Magic Kingdom where like Winnie the Pooh and them all are. And it was important to let the kids have lunch with Winnie the Pooh, even if it was at 1:45, right? Just
Hell to the no, to the no, 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 no. Hell no.
I had a feeling something was going on. The man had been fired from his job, something quite normal in this country, and that alone can be enough for a woman to ask for a divorce. It's among the top 3 reasons women file for divorce, including when you're about to retire. But look at how delusional this woman is. She feels bad because she planned a trip while he had just lost his job, and she insists on going to another state to spend money that could have been used for something more important. Since when does your partner's lack of job stability become the perfect time to plan a luxury vacation? That complete disconnect between the man's reality and her whims says more about her selfishness than anything else. Do you really think this man would be thinking about a family trip after losing his livelihood? Months later, she finishes him off with a divorce, as if he had somehow planned his own downfall. But let's continue.
It's like nothing about it suited. And if you have young kids, ours were 5 and 2 at the time, and you're planning a trip to Disney, you know that that trip is not really about you. You might find some stuff that you enjoy while you're there, but the trip is for the kids. It's about letting them have that magic experience, and then you get your fulfillment from watching them have that experience, right? Like, you're not going to get to do everything you want to do, but you want to try and get your kids as many of those experiences. So we had lunch at some weird times so that the kids could have lunch with the characters. Like, that's just what you do. But every part of this trip was just so much bitching and moaning, and nothing I had done was good enough. Everything was, well, why didn't you do this? Why didn't you do that? Bitch, why didn't you help plan it? Right? Like, I had to do everything. And I will never forget, on the drive home, we stopped at a Chick-fil-A for lunch, and I was driving that portion of the trip. Like, we had the 4 adults, we took turns driving. I was driving as we were cruising into lunch, so I handed him my phone, because I had the Chick-fil-A app, and just to have him put in the lunch order. And it was such a fucking debacle that, like, he didn't even order anything for me. And so we get to Chick-fil-A and we have to wait for the food because I had to order more. And my mom and I are with the kids in the little play area they have there. And I lost it. Like, I just finally had a meltdown. And I remember saying to my poor mother, what's worse, putting the kids through a divorce or spending the rest of my life with this idiot? And she just looked at me, because up until that point, like, I hadn't really voiced to my parents how unhappy I was. Like, I was kind of leaving them out of it, right? But I had just seen what the rest of my life was going to be like with this man. It was going to be me doing everything and it never being appreciated. And I just couldn't do it. Let's stop pretending that letting your partner default to making all the decisions is somehow doing them a favor. Let's stop pretending that saying, oh, you do what you decide, whatever you want. Let's stop pretending that's like a gift, because it's not. I don't want to be told, oh, you decide. I want you to decide. I don't want to make all the decisions. Do you know how nice it is to just show up and somebody else has actually planned something? I never experienced that until my current relationship, where it's like my man now, he'll just plan a date night, and all I gotta do is get ready and look pretty. And it's so nice. Let's start being partners. Because I think that's what we all want. We want a partner. We don't want another responsibility.
Hey, bro. What? Oh, my God!
I don't want to spend my whole life with this idiot, because when he got fired, he wasn't thinking about planning a trip to Disney with her. He was complaining about the terrible treatment he received. But he's the idiot for not being mentally stable enough for a vacation after losing his job. Yet somehow he's still the bad guy here. Whoever puts themselves in his shoes. Of course, he was mentally struggling. He wasn't thinking about vacations or family fun because all he could focus on was how he was going to move forward without a job. But the blame always fell on him, and she, like so many others, didn't even make the slightest effort to understand what he was going through. If the situation had been reversed, if it had been her who was upset while he took her on a trip, everyone would have criticized him for being insensitive and not understanding her pain. That's why I realized that empathy for men doesn't exist. That's why only animals, babies, and women receive unconditional love. Men are never deemed worthy of it.
One of the common comments I'm getting from the men in my divorce videos are that I was just unhappy and it wasn't my ex-husband's responsibility to make me happy, and I'm responsible for my own happiness. And there's some truth to that, right? We are, at the end of the day, we are responsible for our own happiness. And that's why I divorced him, because I wanted to create a life for myself where I could be happy. But anyway, we're in charge of our own happiness. Unless that involves getting rid of the man, then I'm a horrible shrew. But anyhow, along the same lines, what I would like to include here is that if you're in a committed relationship with somebody, while at the end of the day, their happiness is ultimately their responsibility, your responsibility as a partner is to not be doing things that take away their happiness. It's to not be treating them in such a way where they feel sad and miserable all the time. It is your responsibility as their partner to build a life together that is enriching for both of you. That's what you said you were going to do when you took your wedding vows. And all the guys are coming on here saying, you obviously didn't take your vows seriously. Yeah, neither did you. That's why you're divorced too, right? Like, we're supposed to be a partnership. That's what we signed up for. You know, all we ask as women, it's really not that complicated. All we ask is that you keep showing up with the same energy you had when we were dating. Because, man, you made us feel like the most special thing in the world, didn't you? You pursued us, you took us out, you treated us well, you hung out with us, spent time with us, talked to us. Like, you treated us in such a way that we're like, yeah, I want to do this forever with you. And then it seems like as soon as we walk down the aisle, all that effort stops. And then when the women speak up about it, we're being unreasonable and we need to go be responsible for our own happiness. You can see how we were confused by the whole thing, right? You pursued us, you proposed to us, you married us. We assumed based on all those things that you liked spending time with us and that you wanted to be our partners. Because that's what we wanted, was a partner, not another responsibility. So if you're adding to your partner's workload and you are behaving in such a way that you're robbing them of their happiness, don't act all shocked when they come to you wanting a divorce.
No, God! No, God, please, no! 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 No!
She's right about one thing, something every man eventually realizes. Why the hell did I get married when we were just living together without a ring? Without that contract with the devil, life was good. Because it's after marriage that a man sees a woman's true face. She says that a man has to maintain the same energy from the dating stage so he doesn't take away her happiness. But that fantasy of living forever in stage one is impossible. If it were, every man would be rushing to get married. Because in that stage, there's good treatment, acts of service, constant intimacy. The harsh truth is that the only one who marries for love is the man. The woman marries for a lifestyle. Don't forget, she left him when he lost his job. She complained that he didn't help plan a trip right after getting fired, called him an idiot while he was going through one of the worst moments of his life. Where was the empathy for her husband? There was none. A man is only valued as long as he produces, as long as he keeps her happiness intact. When he can't anymore, when he needs support, he's thrown away.
Hey, just a quick reminder before I head into work. You deserve to be happy. Like, actually. Despite what the comment sections of my videos might say, it is not selfish to want to live a life that makes you happy. And if you have somebody in your life who's telling you otherwise, I'm sorry, that sucks. I've been there. It's a shitty feeling. But if I've learned anything in these 37 years so far, it's that our time here is fleeting. Life goes by in the blink of an eye, especially once you start having kids. Then it really hits fast forward. And before you know it, we're going to be laying on our deathbeds, reflecting back on our lives. And I don't want any more regrets than I already have. I spent long enough living my life for other people and their happiness. But it's okay to put yourself first sometimes, because this is your life too. And it's the only one you're going to get. You're not here to be the supporting role in somebody else's life. Your happiness matters just as much as anybody else. I don't care what your gender is, your age, your skin color, your income level, where you live. Nothing makes you less important than anybody else. As long as you're not hurting yourself or anybody else or breaking the law, you deserve to pursue a life that is fulfilling and makes you as happy as possible. Because you are important and you deserve to be happy. Period. Not negotiable. And if that upsets people in your life, well, I don't know that they had your best interests at heart, right? So I hope you all have a great day.
How beautiful that message sounds when it's a woman saying it. No one criticizes her because she deserves to be happy. She deserves to divorce after years of marriage and 3 kids because her happiness is supposedly the children's happiness. That's always the excuse. But when a man does the same thing, he's condemned. Society sees him as the villain, the man who left his wife with 3 kids to be with another woman, because he doesn't deserve to be happy. And on top of that, her happiness comes with 50% of the man's assets, because if she deserves to be happy, he has to pay for it. Later on, they wonder why more and more men don't get married, why we are becoming more selfish with our lives and assets, and why we do everything we can to protect ourselves. Because neither the system nor the world cares about us. That's why I tell you, if you don't defend your interests, if you don't put yourself first, you'll end up being treated like this man. We've reached the end of the video, but before we go, here are some questions for you. Why is it that when a man loses his job, the woman files for divorce? Have you ever been through a divorce? What was the reason? If you enjoyed the video, make sure to give it a thumbs up, subscribe to the channel, and hit the notification bell. Your support means the world to us and motivates us to create more content. Stay tuned for the next exciting video from the wall.